Close your eyes and imagine the smell of rain on morning earth, fresh brewed chai, blooming peonies in a well-tended garden. Can you see it? Almost taste it? We use our senses to create home, the place where we feel joy and belonging. In life's journey, what we think of as our home evolves. We build new homes from our dreams, sacrifices, and journeys of miles and years. And for Indianapolis immigrants, home goes by many names. I'm Erica Irish, and in this podcast by the Indianapolis Public Library, we're learning what home means to Indy's immigrant community. Through their diverse lived experiences, we'll see how, rather than exchanging an old home for a new one, immigrants create a powerful new idea, that home is so much more than a place.
I'm here with Gurinder Kaur, the Executive Director,
the Chief
Executive Officer of the Immigrant Welcome Center. I think I met you when the organization did the introduction, I think, on Facebook.
Yes.
And we're very excited. I know that I think when I went to the Live Local,
Think Global.
Live Local, Think Global event, They mentioned that you were like the first immigrant to lead the organization, which is amazing. Being the Immigrant Welcome Center, I think that brings a lot of value to the organization.
Yeah. I was really excited when this position came open. I was at a point in my life where I was looking to do work that really fulfilled my heart. Not that I have not done similar work before, but I had come at a stage in my life where I wanted to focus more on that. And that's why this position is very relevant for me. And you're absolutely right. Even though the Immigrant Welcome Center has been in existence for about 15 years. This is our 15th year. We've not had, so I am the first Chief Executive Officer, and also we've not had a person of color or a person who is an immigrant who has led the organization. So I'm really excited. Been in this position for 8 months now. It's been, doesn't feel like 8 months. Sometimes it feels longer. Sometimes it feels like it's shorter, but really enjoying it. And there's a lot of work for us to do. Yes. And I'm excited about it.
Nice. And we can get to the Immigrant Welcome Center and the organization later, but just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how did you end up here in Indianapolis, or how was the journey here?
So if you watched the Facebook event, you probably remember I told my story where I had never seen snow in my life before, and I landed in Detroit, Michigan on January 26th, and it was snowing, and I'm like, what is this white stuff on the ground? And it's snow. Well, I am a daughter of middle-class teachers. My dad just recently passed away. He lived in India. I was born and brought up in New Delhi, India. I came to the States and on an H1N1 visa as a physical therapist in the early 1990s. During that time, there was a shortage of physical therapists. So I was recruited to come work at a hospital in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan. And I say this very openly, that my journey as an immigrant has been, even though of privilege, I came here, I had a network of individuals who were here to support me, yet it has had its own challenges. As I said, I'm a daughter of teachers, so I am multilingual. English was... people are amazed by my English fluency, but in India, because we were a colony of British, English is taught very openly. So from kindergarten onwards, English is taught.
Especially in New Delhi.
Especially in New Delhi, which is the capital city. So that's how I have, spoken English. And at home also. My mom wasn't very comfortable with English, but my dad was. And I remember when I turned 12 or 13, he would say, you have to start reading the newspaper. And that was his way of, again, exposing me to the world and also helping me, read better.
Okay, but the newspaper was in English?
It was in English.
Okay,
yeah.
So then...
It was called the Hindustan Times. But that's the paper that my dad liked to read. It is just like here, there's many different newspapers. There's a Times of India and the Hindustan Times. And my dad liked to read the Hindustan Times. But he had to read the paper first, and then I would get it. Then I would get it.
Give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then was it hard to get the H1N1 visa at that time?
No, not really, because at that time, of the shortage, and also the hospital that recruited me had a process set up because I was not the only physical therapist that they recruited. At that time, physical therapists were coming from various countries, so India, the Middle East, and Philippines were the most common ones where the physical therapists were coming from. So I had just turned 21 when I came to the States. I had never lived outside of my home. So this was my first time living away from home and managing by myself.
In Michigan.
In the middle of winter.
Yes.
So, talk about challenges. Language wasn't a challenge for me, but the culture definitely was. As I said, living at home, I hadn't eaten the kind of food that is very common in America. The meat and potatoes, that's not how we eat. At least in how I was brought up, we ate meat only once a week. And here meat's eaten many times.
Yes, many times a day.
Times a day. And not so much emphasis on fruits and vegetables. So that was definitely an adjustment for me. Also, just as any other immigrant, loneliness is big.
Especially in the winter time.
You miss your friends, you miss your parents. And winters are long.
Yes.
And they're cold. And if you haven't, even though New Delhi gets cold, we don't get snow. And it's a different kind of a cold. So it got some taking used to, and
And then how long were you in Michigan?
Yeah, so on and off I have lived in Michigan. I came to Indiana first in 1992 or 3, one of those years, because University of Indianapolis offered at that time a post-professional master's in physical therapy, and I wanted to get that. But it was a program which was, I don't know how you call it, it was a self-paced program. So you did the readings and you completed the assignments, and then you came for a long weekend to Indianapolis, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 8 to 10 hours, and you were in class. So I came to Indianapolis for the first time to do that. And I know you're going to ask me, so how did I feel about Indianapolis at that time? It was very different. I did not like it.
Very different from Michigan even?
Very different from Michigan. So, the part of Michigan that I was living in had a lot of people from the Middle East.
Okay.
So there were people of color who I saw who spoke a different language, and I had access to food that was similar to the food that I had eaten at home. But in 1993 and 94, Indianapolis was very different. I mean, the Circle Center Mall didn't exist at that time.
Okay.
So I remember coming to Lafayette Square, and it looked very different then than it looks now, and it didn't have any of the shops that it has now,
Oh,
the
no.
stores and the shops.
Yeah.
So I didn't like Indianapolis at all, and I had the option of accepting a graduate assistantship early on. I didn't. Eventually I did because I wanted to finish the program, and that's when I stayed for about a year in Indianapolis, and I didn't like it and I moved back.
So you would do the commute from
Yeah.
Detroit to Indianapolis for the weekend classes.
Yeah.
And then you did a whole year.
Yeah.
And then you're like, this is not for me.
This
I'm
is
going
not
back
for
to
me.
Michigan.
I'm going back to Michigan. So,
And was it the community you had created or the connections
yeah,
in Michigan maybe?
all of that. The community, I was more familiar with it. There weren't a lot of immigrants, at least at that time, in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I arrived in 1997
Yeah.
here. I was
So
9.
how was your experience?
So my experience, I was 9 years old, so I came into elementary. I had family members here, so that helped.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that we would have to, like, to go to church. We would go all the way from the west side, I think. It was tough just because we had to travel, and I remember it was a journey on a Sunday to go all the way from the west side to Fountain Square to get on the highway to be able to go to church.
Yeah.
And I remember Lafayette Square when, we had Sears and Ellis Sayers and
Yes.
Victoria's Secret. It's very different from what
Very
it is
different.
now, of course.
Yeah, very different. So that's the reason I didn't stay in Indy, and life has its weird ways, I guess you would say, and it brought me back here. I have been living in Indy now since 1998.
Okay.
So
Close, kind
yeah.
of like when I
Yeah.
came here.
So Indy is home now, and I've actually lived in the States longer now that I've lived in India.
Okay.
And as I shared, I still have a younger sister who lives in Delhi.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm the oldest sibling, and my dad was the oldest sibling as well. So my parents are no longer living. So the connection to the home country is declining. My kids, I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. My son is 14. And the last time Amal, my son, and I went to India was right before COVID. And that's when we had gone to visit my dad. So that was the last trip back home.
And when you go back home, does it still feel like home?
No, not at all.
No.
My dad moved from Delhi to Pune, which is on the west coast. On the west coast, because my sister had moved at that time, and I had not gone to Delhi for 10 years between 2000 and 2010. And when I went back, I did not recognize Delhi. It has changed.
Where it's physically changed, like grown, or changed?
Physically changed.
For you?
No,
or
both.
What you
Well,
felt?
both. Because, it has flyovers. It has a train system now that never existed. And the buildings that I used to remember, I don't remember
They're
them.
maybe no longer there, or they have changed.
They've changed, or there are other buildings in front of them. The number of trees has decreased. The population density has increased. There are McDonald's and KFCs now.
When
They weren't there when I was growing up. From a physical perspective, but also from an emotional perspective, it has changed.
Yeah, and then so your sister, your younger sister, is still there, and then you have other siblings, or just you two?
Yeah, just us.
So you come from being the oldest and just having from 2 kids, and then you also have 2 kids.
Yes,
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and has your sister ever visited here?
She has come once, but for a very brief period when I was pregnant with my first kiddo, she came, but not since.
So you said that when you So do you think then this is home for you now, Indianapolis, or?
Yeah, this is home. This is where, as I said, I've lived now in the States longer than I've lived in India. I don't even know if I could negotiate living in India anymore, just because of how different things are done. Paying bills and I mean, I couldn't drive in India, not because they drive on the opposite side, but because I don't know how to navigate that kind of traffic.
Very different.
It's very different. So.
I know it's very different. I don't think I would ever drive in Mexico, maybe in a smaller town, but definitely not in the cities. Yeah. People tend not to maybe follow the rules, or if they do, and then I feel like I've been told I'm an aggressive driver. When I took my driving test, they almost didn't give me my license.
Wow.
But okay, so since this is home for you now, when do you think it started to feel like home? And I'm asking only because I think ever since, because I came when I was 9, I always think about moving back to Mexico, and I wonder if that's going to change now that I'm a mother and I'm going to have another kid. And when did that perception change for you of feeling okay here?
That's a good question. I think that the longing to go home never goes away. Yeah. I think, at least not for me. But I also am being realistic and practical in recognizing that I probably cannot adjust to the Indian life anymore. I am used to the life here now. And about feeling home, I think just like you said, when you start having kids, then it shifts the paradigm for you. Then you start feeling like, this is home, and this is where I'm going to bring up my kids.
Yeah, like I wonder if it was that because you had your kids here, you raised them here, one's going to college here in Indiana, whether that had any influence on just creating roots and creating connections and you having to create this environment of home for them.
Yeah. And I also have, as I said, the time that I came to the States, there were a lot of physical therapists who were being recruited to come. So quite a few of my friends are here too. So I do have a circle of friends here. And as we grow older, we find things that we like and we don't like.
Yeah.
The times that I have gone back to India, pollution is really bad, at least in Delhi, the air quality, and my kids, when Amal has gone back, they get sick.
I was going to ask you that.
They get sick.
With whatever food or the water or...
Yeah, I mean, even if we are careful with not drinking anything but bottled water, but still, the food is different there.
Yeah.
Even though they eat Indian food here, it's prepared differently in India. Right?
It's
So and then the air pollution impacts them a lot. So from that perspective too, it would be very difficult for my kids to adjust.
Yeah, to adjust.
Yeah.
Do they like going and visiting?
My daughter is not a fan, but Amal loves going to India. He has actually gone to India 4, maybe 3 times, and he has enjoyed it each time. And my daughter has gone twice, and she's okay about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was it raising kids here with your family in India?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I know that you came here as a kid, and my parents are not here. My mom had passed away by the time I had my first child, so that was hard. because in our cultures,
Yes.
mom is really important, especially
they
during
play
the
a very
time,
integral role
in childbirth and
Yes.
pregnancy,
Yeah.
in guiding. So that was difficult, but I had friends, so I leaned on them, and you just persevere.
with whatever connections
Yeah.
and relationships you get to have them. And we also have, or I have friends who have their families in their home countries,
Yeah.
and we tend to like stick together. I even remember maybe even celebrating holidays together
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
didn't have families, and
Yeah.
especially around that time when it's all about family, and people hear, oh, I'm going to visit my family, and they can't,
Yeah.
because it's about creating that strong sense of community and supporting each other. And it's nice that you had those connections.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Sikh,
Mm-hmm.
so we go to the Gurdwara, and the prayers, the service is on Sunday as well, and we do that as often as we can, not every Sunday. So there's that connection, and then the festivals are very different too. Now kids put more emphasis on Christmas than Diwali, which is like Christmas for us. But I mean, you kind of balance. Yeah.
What and your kids growing up here, you have to have that. Be like, yeah, okay, let's celebrate both, and it's okay because this is what you're growing up in school with. Do your kids speak any other language? No. Just
it's because my husband didn't, so they don't. Though it's interesting that they know when I'm angry, because the words that come out of
you
my
start
mouth.
using.
Yeah, I as I said, I'm multilingual, so I speak Hindi, English, Punjabi, and Urdu, and I write. I can read and write Hindi, English, and Punjabi. So my kids know when I'm angry, and they know not to mess with me.
Yeah. You going back to when you, I guess, first visited Indianapolis, you said that it was very different from what it is now. It is more diverse now. We can agree. I think or it's grown, and it keeps growing, which is beautiful. Where was I going with this? I guess going back to like the food that maybe you weren't able to find when you came like in the early 90s. And now, do you think we have better food representation from India here? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, earlier, like in the 90s, when I would go back home, and when my mom was alive, she would make certain spice mixtures for me
to bring back.
She would make them at home for me, roast them and grind them and then give them to me. But after she passed away, that no longer existed, and I started buying those spices from Indian stores here. But yes, the quality has improved too. The number of stores has improved too, and I think as individuals have become more aware of other cultures, certain spices which were at a certain time considered exotic or not available in the majority of the stores are now commonly available, like cumin, even ground cumin, and cumin seeds are available. And then there are specialty stores now, Indian stores, and others that carry the spices and the foods that the Indians eat, which are no different from our neighbors who come from Africa or Mexico. Some of the spices that we use are pretty similar. We had a potluck at work today, and I brought matar paneer, which is peas and cottage cheese. and they're cooked in a curry. And I said to my team members that, it's spicy.
Yeah.
Because that's how we cook it. And I didn't make it
any more different than what you would do
yeah,
at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and they liked it, and
they liked it. I mean, I got the rice back. I did not get the matar paneer back. So I guess they all ate it or they're taking it home or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
More Than a Place is made possible by the Indianapolis Foundation Library Fund through a grant to the Indianapolis Public Library Foundation.
What is one food that reminds you of home? Have you been able to taste it here or find it here?
I make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's when I tell you the name of this food, Claudia, you're going to laugh because it's red beans and rice. How common is that?
Yeah.
Every African culture has it, and Creole culture has it, and we eat red beans and rice. We do it differently. In India, we make it without any meat, but that's the dish that reminds me of home, and you usually don't get it in the restaurants, so I make it.
You make it at home, and your kids grew up eating the food you cooked, which is
not as spicy, but for the most part, yeah.
Okay. What about a sound or a song that reminds you of home, that brings you back?
It's funny you asked me that question because, I read through the list of your questions last night as I was getting ready for this, and I kept thinking, what is the song that reminds me of home? So you're going to laugh when I tell you this. It's Country Roads Take Me Home. That's the song that reminds me of home, and I'll tell you why. Because again, I grew up in New Delhi, India, in a middle-class family in the 70s and 80s, and we only had one radio station, and only on Mondays it would play English music, and it was not the most current English music. So I remember Country Roads Take Me Home.
Wow.
And I was not allowed to stay up that late to be able to listen to it. So whenever I was allowed, I enjoyed it, and so that's the song. But other than that, the ringing of a bell in a temple is something that is also reminiscent of home, even though I'm not a Hindu, but that reminds me of home.
Okay. What about a drink?
Oh my God, what I'm drinking right now, even though I'm drinking iced tea, but, I love drinking tea, black tea. But in the summertime, it's too hot to drink hot tea. And in India, we drink tea with milk and sugar, but I can't do milk anymore, so I just drink black.
In India, it's hot.
It's hot.
It's never iced tea like we do over here in the summertime.
No, it's never. It's always hot.
Yeah, and it's always black tea.
It's always black tea that's mixed with milk and sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's called chai. Again, the chai that one gets at the Starbucks is nothing like the chai that you make at home.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, I have a friend who has her chai business, and I've been lucky to taste her family's recipe. So it's nice.
Yeah.
What about a smell that reminds you? Or
the smell of rain. That reminds me.
Whenever it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And
it's that specific smell. I don't know. It's that earthy smell.
It's funny you say that, because whenever it starts raining, it does bring me back to my great grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Who lived not in the city where I lived in Mexico, but she lived in a smaller town, and it's not when it's raining. It's right when the first raindrops hit the earth.
Yeah. And when it's not when it hasn't rained for a while.
Yeah, because then the smell goes away.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
So that's the smell that reminds me of home.
Does it rain a lot in New Delhi?
No, it doesn't. That's why it reminds me of home, because New Delhi is actually a desert.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's increasingly becoming hotter and colder just because of climate change.
Yeah.
It rains during the monsoon, obviously, which is coming soon in July, and then it rains off and on during winter time.
Yeah. No, I think my great-grandmother's place, it was always, I don't know if it was when we got there early in the morning, and it just reminds me of that smell of wet soil or wet dirt, which we do get here sometimes when it starts. What physical place here in Indianapolis makes you feel a sense of home and belonging, where you're like comfortable?
So when I was growing up in Delhi, it was very green. It had lots of trees. So any place in Indy that has a lot of trees, like even looking outside my office, and we have the trees around us, going to either the Garfield Park or going to Holiday Park, any of those parks. Our city has such gems of parks that, we probably don't even utilize as much. Those are my happiest moments, being with nature and just enjoying that. Though I will admit that my kids say this. It was funny you said about being an aggressive driver. I'm not an aggressive driver. My kids will disagree. But there are times that I will honk. Now, honking a horn is very common in Delhi and in India, but it's not common here.
And when you honk, you're like, stop.
I know, they're like screaming at me, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh. So
they get a little embarrassed about mom honking while she's driving.
That
that brings out the New Delhi in you.
That brings out the New honking. Delhi, the honking.
I was thinking about the questions, and I don't know if when I wrote this grant or this project, I talked about Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie's The Danger of a Single Story, and how people might have a perception of people from India just being this one person where, we're all different and we all bring our own stories and our own realities. Is there like anything you'd want people to know about, or maybe like a stereotype that people have about people from India that it's like, please stop thinking that about everyone from India, because it's a very diverse country.
It is a very diverse country, and it's really really a good question, because there is a misconception. It is truly a misconception that all of the Asian Americans are well-to-do, are professionals, are well-educated. That's not the case. In my case, yes, I am. I am educated. I come from a family that emphasized education, and I'm a professional. But there are just as many Asians who are not as educated. At the Immigrant Welcome Center, we find that the spectrum of individuals who come here as immigrants, some have no schooling and are working in jobs that the individuals born here don't want to take, are hard. Farm workers or restaurant workers. So we've heard all of those stories. So I think that my hope is that as we accept ourselves as different individuals, we don't use the same brush to paint everyone from India. I don't know every Patel.
Yeah.
I don't know every doctor. It's impossible because there's so many professionals from different parts of India who are here. So that's a misconception I think that people have.
Yeah. And I guess we can start talking a little bit with the time we have left about the Immigrant Welcome Center and the work that you're doing. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to accomplishing now that I think we're coming back to normal?
Yeah.
And
COVID taught the Immigrant Welcome Center a lot. We were able to develop really a niche in being able to help organizations that needed access to resources and information to serve their immigrant neighbors. So we're going to continue building on our Power Partner calls, which are every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. And we invite different agencies to share about what are their services and how they can help. So I think that is one thing that we're going to continue building upon. The part that I'm really excited about is even though we were able to offer naturalization and citizenship classes, etc., online, I think that there is so much more that can be done to help those individuals who are eligible to become citizens, to help them in their pathway to citizenship. So I'm really excited about that work. And the grant that we received recently from the Lilly Endowment to do English language literacy related work is very exciting to me too. The results of the 2 pilots that we have completed to date now tell us that it is the right thing to do for those individuals who are low literacy, who actually are not even literate in their native
language.
Language, and how important it is for them to go through these classes as they want to advance, because whether we as immigrants come to the States by choice or not, eventually we all want to make the best of the opportunities that are offered to us, want to create a home for our kids if we choose to have kids, and to make connections with the communities that we're living in. So continuing to work on those things through some of the programming that I've talked about is really exciting for me.
Yeah. And just to close it, and unless you have anything else to add, why is the work that the Immigrant Welcome Center is doing so important right now here in Indianapolis?
Yeah. It's really COVID, again, just as I said, was eye-opening for a lot of organizations. We saw we knew about the health disparities that existed for people of color, but they were highlighted, and we saw the impact of that on the mortality and the morbidity of the disease. The Latinos and the Black individuals, how they were getting sick. More of them were getting sick, and they were sicker than their white counterparts. So I think just understanding that and shining a light on that and continuing to talk about those disparities and continuing to provide resources that are culturally appropriate and linguistically appropriate is going to be something that we're going to strive to do as much as we can, so that what happened in 2020 is not repeated again. That's our hope.
Yeah, that's a great hope.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
I'm very grateful that you agreed to do it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and it was beautiful to get to know you better.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you.
Yeah, I know that we have some plans.
Yes.
So I'm excited about those. The move to the library itself has been really, it's such a nice space to be able to work and collaborate. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Gurinder.
Yep.
So when you have guests that come here to Indianapolis, what are some places that you take them and highlight?
So it depends upon the
they
age group
Yeah.
of the guests, right? So if there are guests who are coming with, who have younger kids, I think our children's museum is exemplary. I like to take them to the children's museum. Our zoo is fantastic too, honestly speaking. And then I like the row of the museums by the White River Parkway with the Idle-Shore and the Indiana State Museum, and then the NCAA.
And then the canals there too.
So I like that.
Okay.
Some people who come from areas on the east coast or the west coast are not very impressed by our little canal, but I think that to me it's just like I like it.
Yeah.
So that and I don't know how many cities have the museum, the Idle-Shore Museum as such, that is such a fantastic resource also. So I like that very much. If summertime, if people are visiting, and it's my favorite thing to do too, and I missed it last year, and I'm not sure if it's coming back, is going for a concert at Conner Prairie. Is something that I enjoy a lot, just because, as I shared earlier, I like to be outside, and that gives me that opportunity and listen to some good music.
Okay, nice. I tend to take my family or relatives who come. I think I take them downtown, and we do take them on a workout up the stairs on the Sailors Monument.
Yeah.
And I think I take them to the restaurants I like.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around food, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you asked me places, you didn't ask me restaurants.
That is true.
Had you asked me restaurants, I would have given you names of some restaurants.
What are some restaurants that you like to highlight?
Again, this is not an advertisement for any
No,
of
it's not.
those restaurants. But I really like Sakura Sushi. So it's a small restaurant on Keystone. Really enjoy that restaurant. And don't ask me why. And I know I said that when I came here, I didn't like it, but I like Hollyhock Hill. It's the fried chicken and the mashed potatoes, the quintessential American food. So I like that too. And lately there are new restaurants opening.
There's a lot of new restaurants opening.
Yeah, so I haven't tried many just because we're just coming out of that COVID. But I like to try different foods, but those are the ones that I wouldn't miss.
Okay.
It's either Punjabi or Hindi, and they are very different they're not dialects, so they're different languages. So they know when I'm mad. Yeah, we use language to travel back, but what's really interesting is, and I don't know if it's in your circle of friends too, but it's called Hinglish. So it's a mix of Hindi and English. So we will use some phrases from Hindi and some phrases from English. So it's Hinglish. So that's how we talk. But the majority of our friends that I have are very fluent in Hindi and Punjabi. So we will speak in those two, but not in its purest form as it's spoken back home. English.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's Erica, and you're listening to More Than a Place, a podcast by the Indianapolis Public Library, produced in partnership with Kendall Antron of the Made in Indy podcast. We couldn't tell the unforgettable stories of our community without your support. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. To learn more about Indy immigrant leaders like Gurinder, visit IndyPL.org/morethanAplace.